The 10th cardinal sign of the zodiac, Capricorn. The archetype of the goatfish has been in recent times, for the most part, replaced by simply the first aspect of the mountain goat, as the fishtail element has not been fully understood in our times as being a reference to the ancient symbol of the watery earth mother. Because of the strange juxtaposed arrangement of the goatfish archetype, however, there seems to have come about in the wake of our modern day misunderstanding an association of contradiction with the symbol. In any case, despite misconstrued symbolisms, the mountain goat carries forth from the previous archer phase with the outreaching goal orientation of individual accomplishment, which then goes on to become a symbol of the truly recognized public achievement. The consistency and determination of the goat on its mountain path represents the struggle with the impediments to be found within the public arena, where competition is to be found foremost within the masses before any kind of acceptance is even ever a possibility. The awareness and blunt experience of the harsh public arena has caused the goat to develop a thick exterior skin, designed to hide a soft and sensitive interior. With this front, they are capable of exemplifying both the highest and lowest of human natures, which they themselves have also experienced in others, and in turn tend to mimic and advertise the negative authoritative behaviors that have affected them throughout their lives. This thick outer skin is perhaps also responsible for the reputation of the goat as being nicer and more personable to the strangers of the world than they are with the members of their own family, since they have gained much of this outer skin from the relations abroad. Of course, this idea should be adjudged on a person-per-person basis, since Capricorn also has associations with the authoritative foundations of family traditions, and thus would preserve certain personal family values in the form of either a patriarchy or a matriarchy. For that matter, Capricorn symbolically is the head of the nuclear family, as it is seen evolving from a long line of ancestral past that further mount itself upon the future by the traditional means of the family name through the growth of the ancestral family tree. The apparent need of this sign is to contribute something of a lasting and solid value to society, which is why they seem so determined to work for their position of ultimate recognition. In many of the successful versions of this sign, there is indeed a mysterious aspect of having conquered many obstacles through repeated lifetimes of learning that has brought them to the position that they are in. It would seem that this somewhat mystical aspect of larger-than-life personal achievements has come to be recognized as being symbolized by Capricorn's fish tail. However, in reality, the earth-water duality expressed in the symbol is an aspect of the sun's journey through the lower worlds of the watery abyss, and then finally up into the higher worlds to the apex of the heavens, exemplified by the mountain goat symbolism. Therefore, Capricorn and its dualistic symbolism of the fish goat is more specifically a symbol of the movement of time. Jupiter in Capricorn. Jupiter in Capricorn bases his philosophical faith of salvation on its ability to exercise prudence, caution, and mature judgment in the face of demanding situations. For this reason, Jupiter in Capricorn can often acquire positions of economic and political responsibility that may end up in effect changing the global future for better or worse. They have a strong drive towards power and status, which is prompted by personal ambition and by a sense of duty to society. However, this drive can often interfere with their home life and other personal relationships. With this, these people can often acquire as well a cold and calculating personal manner of intention that continues to accumulate into their old age, where finally they are to be found alone in a state of emotional frustration brought about by their own sense of personal importance over others. Despite their crippling sense of inner caution, some manage to develop for themselves a gifted sense of humor, even while their mind is struggling with the constant issues of lack and need which they see all about them. The security-conscious mind of Jupiter in Capricorn more often than not forgets the ability to appreciate the moment at hand and as well as the individuals around him for what the moment is and who the individuals are, rather than for what they're supposed to be in their own eyes of judgment. The 11th fixed sign of the zodiac, Aquarius. The archetype of the water bearer demonstrates the ability to centralize mental energy into a maintainable, focused structure. The most fundamental variation of this energy is the psychic energy of people, and the maintainable structure is that of garnered human relationships, or the group. For this matter, Aquarians seek to maintain relationships that contain a pattern of idealistic consistency so that all ideas that flow through the circle of communication reinforce the original pattern, thus guaranteeing some degree of longevity, since it is that the existence of the group and its integrity is what counts most for them. For that matter, Aquarius is the sign of social structure, but it does not reinforce those structures that do not grant personal freedom. Therefore, many traditional as well as reasonable points of view are often immediately rejected, since these may only hinder the water bearer in its goal for the ultimate personal autonomy. This might seem to go against the grain of group instincts, and it does. Therefore, some degree of acceptance for the apparent inconsistencies in the natives of this sign's personal idealisms are required if a friendship is to be maintained with many of these people. This is because oftentimes the awareness that the water bearer seeks to cultivate is one of individual supremacy over the group, not necessarily one of individual wholeness within it. This lack of wholeness is a result of rejecting the emotions as a legitimate form of psychic stimuli from which they can evaluate and judge the situation by. This can amount to alienating others, leaving the Aquarius with precisely the small circle of friends that they desire. This kind of activity amounts to symbolize the flow of water, resembling a psychic stream of change where only the desirable social elements are supported, while all others are seen as negligible and are rejected and allowed to move on. Yet in the wake of this personal determination, there is still room for philanthropic endeavors on a mass level, where the survival of group instincts can be given support, while the value of individual accomplishment is reserved for those endeavors that will help bring people together. At a corporate level, this may include certain forms of reverse discrimination, just to prove that the objective of group fairness is being met. The constellation of Aquarius itself may have its more distant origins in female goddesses bearing jars of water, though of course later it had become the specific station of the Sumerian god Enki, who ruled over the watery underworld where Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces are to be found. Aquarius's link with the stars is no doubt seasonal and related to the rains of winter. Jupiter in Aquarius. Jupiter in Aquarius bases his philosophical faith of salvation on the ability to relate to people while ignoring any other class, racial, or religious distinctions, because there is a desire to spiritually share the experience of being with men and women from all walks of life. The keynote of this position is tolerance, since it is with tolerance that we may finally get to know the inherent desire of all that is. This is, of course, a deliberate reaction to the more selfish concerns of the previous position of Jupiter in Capricorn. As with the Sun in Aquarius, this Jupiter position would also elect the premise, "Don't judge me and I won't judge you," which is a phrase that can literally be heard from Aquarius' side of the room from time to time. This is due to the fact that Aquarius realizes that tolerance, respect, and cooperation are essential for a successful social relationship to subsist. They acknowledge these democratic ideals, and the position of Jupiter in Aquarius may be heard to reiterate them time and again to clear the floor. It is with these ideals that they are able to attract many friends and acquaintances while humbly instilling the example of brotherhood among them. The resolute and ethical characteristics of Jupiter in Aquarius are due to its desire to integrate large groups of people into a community of fairness, which guarantees that the intended democratic ideal insulates the individual in a broader perspective of human growth. The 12th mutable sign of the zodiac, Pisces. The archetype of the fishes demonstrates the ability to reconcile disorganized or obstructed energy into a once again fluid form of motion. The animal fish nature is subservient to the flow and force of the waters that it habituates in, and therefore it is perpetually in a struggle with its own environment. The characteristic of the fishes point out an aspect of collectivity, with the appearance of fish amassing into schools, which on a human level represent the world masses in the places that they tend to collect and clutter around, both in and around at the various intersections where the necessities of survival are to be found. The correlation of the zodiological fishes to the human masses creates an individual who is sensitive to the thoughts and feelings of others, and who by their very nature is compassionate. For better or worse, they can easily absorb the negative or positive emotions of those around them, and in fact will often seek out this extra psychic lift deliberately, causing them to over-identify sometimes with the ego of those around them. This ability to merge socially, however, also tends to create the need for approval on some level, which can amount to exaggerated attempts for recognition in the company of their peers by doing things that are not practically beneficial to others. For that matter, there is also the need to take advantage of the gray areas of perception that exist within the tumult of human activity, which enables the Pisces native to feel that there is the right and ability to deceive, mislead, or simply take advantage of the situation as though it were some kind of God-given command that they were obeying. This kind of adverse loyalty towards misguided intentions on the part of these natives accounts for what is perceived by others around them as a definite kind of psychic disconnect. This seems more or less self-perpetuated by the Pisces native as a personal symbol of not feeling totally being included or connected with what they seem to believe it is all about, which is, of course, for Pisces, always the community at large. Pisces as a symbol of duality in the distant past was expressed in even more dualistic terms, with the appearance of the more western fish being perceived and described by the ancient Mesopotamians as a sparrow in flight, connected by a cord to a fish swimming in the opposite direction. This in turn points out the dualistic relationship perceived between the earthly waters and the heavenly skies. The sparrows were quite literally perceived as the fish of the skies and vice versa. Interesting facts like these relating to the origins of the zodiac can be found in Gavin White's highly recommended book, Babylonian Star Lore. Jupiter in Pisces. Jupiter in Pisces bases his philosophical faith of salvation on the ability to contribute emotional depth and compassionate understanding with those who might share a common sense of community. The nature of Jupiter in Pisces is such that it prefers to contribute in a silent and unobtrusive manner rather than fighting for the usual spotlight of recognition, which follows in the wake of most social endeavors that are affiliated with Jupiter and demand a consistently reinforced type of communication. These people are often found performing in roles of assisting others, which provides them with a charitable sense of personal dignity that is often seen as missing among most people in their daily relationships. Perceiving this void, Jupiter in Pisces also manages to fill the void with true emotional support and respect for the individual at hand by focusing undivided attention to the individual. However, the roles may become reversed as well, since Pisces experiences confusion and frustration with collective energies. While contributing all of their personal energies towards the collective, they may be wondering when the desirable payback of goodness and personal justice will be delivered back to them. When this doesn't happen is the point at which pessimistic attitudes and moods may develop, and a collective reiteration of personal struggle may become the mode of communication between them and their peers.